I'm just saying, there's a reason most asylums have been shut down by now. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are the top 10 scary asylum stories from real nurses. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get scared. Number 10, catching crazy. Ada Barker had been an insane asylum nurse in El Paso, Texas, but in 1902, she became a victim of robbery, and it was claimed she lost her senses after the ordeal. Having no immediate family in the area, the police placed the traumatized woman in the county jail until a judge could decide whether to wait until family arrived to claim her or simply send her to the insane asylum. According to the physicians who treated the woman after the robbery, Ada caught the crazy after being a nurse in an insane asylum and not because of the robbery. Number 9, she's not insane. In 1912, former insane asylum nurse Amelie Leonard escaped from the Worcester State Hospital for the insane. Previous to her incarceration in the mental hospital, she had been a nurse there. However, she was also a thief and was caught stealing valuables from the inmates. She was arrested, and immediately the doctors said she had to be insane. Remember, nurses were prone to catching the crazy from their patients. Amelie was placed in the asylum, but she was obviously having none of it. One night, she put her nightdress over her street clothes and tucked a roll-up blanket into her bed to look like she was asleep. She escaped through the asylum and into the night. Number 8, bad nurses. An almshouse owned by the Marsh family in Massachusetts in 1883 had been taking in paupers and making them care for the insane patients sent to them. It was clearly a disaster. Insane women who were cared for by the pauper nurses endured the worst treatment imaginable. When it came to bathing, it was said that the nurses made half a dozen people bathe in the same water. To be fair, things are not all that great for the pauper nurses, but that's no reason to extend your pain onto others. Number 7, zombie infection insanity? According to one popular theory in the early 1900s, insanity was contagious, like the flu or those fictional zombie movies. For example, in 1907, an insane asylum nurse at the Kings Park Insane Hospital in New York, Nellie Halpin, was bitten by a crazy patient. Shortly afterwards, the young woman showed signs of mental derangement. She was pronounced insane and sent to the psychopathic ward in Bellevue Hospital. I wonder what that deranged behavior was. Number 6, accidental ignition. Oftentimes, nurses lived in rooms provided by the insane asylum. That was the case for Farie Murphy in 1912. She had been a well-liked nurse at the asylum in North Dakota for 3 years and wanted to brighten the floors in her room. Farie lit her alcohol stove and began melting paraffin wax, but by some freak accident, her hair caught on fire. She screamed and thrashed, causing her clothing to also light up. Nurses and doctors ran to her aid, but it was too late. After they put out the fire with her bed covers, they saw that her burns were deep and severe. She was not going to live. Being conscious and in extreme pain, Farie was able to tell her co-workers what had happened and was able to leave a final written message to her mother and sister. Number 5, cutting edge. In 1906, Nurse Wicke was doing her job at the Matawan Hospital for Insane Criminals when one of her patients grabbed a pair of scissors and began stabbing her. How this patient got hold of the scissors is unknown. In all probability, patients were, at that time, allowed to use sharp objects while doing busy work prescribed by the doctors. Sadly, the nurse did not survive the attack, and no one really seemed surprised by the inmate's behavior. After all, the inmate had previously ended the lives of her mother, husband, and daughter. Number 4, cruel and unusual. Creedmoor Psychiatric opened in 1912 as the farm colony of Brooklyn State Hospital and is still running in Queens. There are some places that have been abandoned to rot, most notably Building 25, which the hospital ceased using in 1975. This ward gained its reputation from a series of reports documenting brutal treatments of patients. In the 1970s, rumors began to emerge about an abundance of patient abuse, including executions, self-demise, and beatings. In 1984, a nurse's aide hit a patient in the throat with a blackjack. The man, Robert Venegas, was restrained in a straitjacket at the time and passed away due to asphyxiation. The aide had crushed his throat. At number 3, the body stain. Built in 1874 and originally intended for tending to tuberculosis patients, Athens Lunatic Asylum housed patients far over its capacity for many of its functioning years. This overcrowding caused the care for each patient to decrease until the hospital began abusing its patients. Athens, also called the Ridges, is notable because of its famed physician Dr. Walter Jackson. Dr. Jackson was a big fan of the transorbital lobotomy, calling it the cure-all for every mental illness. He performed over 200 lobotomies during his time there. While there were hundreds of passings when the hospital was open, the most famous is that of Margaret Schilling. She went missing while on the ward, and either no one noticed or no one cared. Over a month later, her body was found in a locked room in an abandoned part of the tuberculosis ward. Her body left a gruesome stain on the ward floor that can still be seen today. Number 2, ice therapy. Open to ease the overpopulation of the other two mental hospitals in Newtown, Fairfield Hills quickly overcrowded itself and resorted to unconventional methods of treating its patients. Aside from the then normal lobotomies and thorazine prescriptions, this hospital became known for its use of hydrotherapy. You're thinking that's not so bad, right? Not exactly. Used as a calming method, this treatment involved patients being submerged in ice water, sometimes for more than a full day. They were not permitted out, even to relieve themselves. At number 1, shell shock scare. The Trans-Allegheny Hospital opened its doors in 1864, just in time to begin admitting soldiers from the Civil War. At the time, there was no understanding of shell shock or post-traumatic stress. The doctors treated their understandably traumatized patients by doling out lobotomies and other brutal tactics. During the century it was running, thousands of patients passed away there. Most were buried in massive graves on the grounds, and its most famous patient, Charles Mason, lived there in the latter years of the hospital's functioning. After decades of mistreatment and abuse, the Trans-Allegheny closed its doors in 1994. You can now visit the Trans-Allegheny with one of their ghost tours. Maybe don't stay overnight though. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time on Crime Time.